Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Wednesday, April the 7th. We got a 9-game slate for Wednesday. As always, we're going to go through each game and talk about each team on this slate. Just before we do get started with the breakdown, guys, as always, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button down below, hit that subscribe button as well if you are new here. Be sure to click the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload, and you also get notified every time I do live stream. And if you want to get more content from me, if you do enjoy the videos I put out on YouTube, I have a lot of additional content linked down below on Patreon. If that is something that interests you, if you want to check that out, you can see all that I do have to offer on Patreon, linked down below in the description. But yeah, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at the first game of the night, Minnesota and Indiana. So on the Minnesota side today, we know Malik Beasley is going to remain out for this game. He's going to be out for, I believe, a couple weeks. He's got a hamstring injury. We also know Jalen Noel's going to be out. D'Angelo Russell made his return last game. He's probable, so he's expected to play. He played 24 minutes in his first game back from injury. He was actually really productive too. Had 40 DK points in that time. You know, I don't know if we can expect that type of production from Russell again, but you know, if he can play somewhere close to his normal minutes, I mean, 6,400 is definitely too cheap for D'Angelo Russell if he's going to get anywhere close to 30 minutes. So he's maybe viable on this slate. You know, Towns, I don't have a ton of interest in. I think there's other studs I'd rather get to. I think with Russell coming back, that, you know, hurts Towns a little bit, at least enough to where he's not like a top pay up option for me. There's just other guys I'd rather pay up for. Anthony Edwards, kind of the same thing. Like with Russell back, I think that hurts Edwards a little bit. I don't really want to pay $7,700 for Anthony Edwards on this slate. And Rubio, I don't have a ton of interest in with Russell back. So really, I think if I'm going to play anyone on Minnesota, it's probably going to be D'Angelo Russell. We'll have to wait and see what kind of minutes limit he's going to be on. They said he was going to be very limited last game, and he wound up playing 24 minutes. I'd assume he probably gets a few more minutes today, maybe around 30. If he can play 30 minutes, I mean, $6,400 from D'Angelo Russell does feel a little bit too cheap. Now, there will probably be better plays that open up as the day goes on, but don't mind Russell as, you know, an early look option from this Minnesota team. But moving on to the Indiana side, it's really hard to break down this Pacers team right now just because we don't exactly know who's going to be in, who's going to be out. So in Tuesday night's game, Sabonis and Brogdon were both questionable, and they both wound up being out. And then Miles Turner actually got injured in Tuesday's game, and he was not able to return. Super unfortunate, because I'm sure a lot of you played Turner. Once Sabonis got ruled out, I played Turner once Sabonis was ruled out. So we got, you know, unlucky there. We have no idea if Sabonis, Brogdon, Turner, if they're going to be able to play today. So this is really just a wait and see for me. Like if Sabonis, Brogdon, and Turner are all in, I don't see a ton that stands out from this Indiana team outside of maybe Sabonis. You could look to an 8,900. You know, it is a good matchup here against Minnesota. I wouldn't mind going to him. But if we do get a scenario where like Sabonis is out, Brogdon's out, Turner's out, I mean, you can load up on these Indiana guys. Like Karis LeVert, if all three of these guys are out, I think Karis LeVert is, you know, one of the top plays on the day. I would love TJ McConnell as well. I know McConnell was disappointing Tuesday, but I'd be fine going right back to him. Especially, you know, basically if Brogdon's out, I think that, you know, secures the workload for TJ McConnell. And then the big, you know, or the big minutes, I would assume a lot of the minutes from Turner and from Sabonis would definitely go to a guy like Goga Bitadze. You know, he hasn't really played much this year. He's just basically been the backup to Turner, and then some games he's not even in the rotation. He did play 19 minutes, though, in Tuesday's game against Chicago. I would assume that if Sabonis and Turner are both out, then we do see Goga start at center, and if he starts at center, I think he is probably one of the best value plays today. Minimum salary on DraftKings. It's a wait and see, but Goga, if Turner and Sabonis are both out, is going to be a great value play. Jeremy Lamb had a really good game off the bench. I think he would benefit as well if all these guys are out again. I would definitely look to Jeremy Lamb. Even in only 23 minutes, he had 38 DraftKings points. He's shown that he can be really productive when these guys are off the floor. Pretty sure last time Brogdon and Sabonis were both out was this Milwaukee game. I can't remember I think Sabonis might have played that game. I honestly can't remember, but Jeremy Lamb had a really good game then as well. So yeah, we just got to wait and see here. It's tough to really break down this Pacers team not knowing the status of, you know, three of their key guys, Sabonis, Brogdon, Turner. We have no idea if they're playing, so we'll wait and see. We'll have to, you know, just stay up to date with this. For now, I'm just going to assume that all these guys play, but if they get ruled out, you know, I talked about who I think benefits if these guys are out. But yeah, I think we can go ahead and move on to the next game. So Washington and Orlando, looking at the Wizards side here, it's another team that, you know, we have to wait and see what happens with injuries here. Bradley Beal, once again, is questionable for this game. He's been out for, I believe, I want to say 5 games he's been out now. I keep thinking that Beal's going to play, and then he just gets ruled out every time. For now, I'm just going to assume that Beal plays today, and if that's the case, I don't see a ton that really stands out from the Wizards. Bradley Beal himself, probably won't be that good of an option in his first game back from injury. Russell Westbrook would definitely take a hit if Bradley Beal returns. Obviously, Westbrook has been a top pay-up option for the last 5 slates. With Bradley Beal out, had another solid game last game with Beal out, put up a triple-double, 62 DK points. If Beal plays, Westbrook's an okay option. If Beal is out again, I think Westbrook is probably the top stud on the slate once again. I mean, last game he shot literally 36% from the field. He took 25 shots, and he still scored 62 DraftKings points. Like, if he could have even made 50% of his shots last game, he probably would have dropped 70 or 80. Like, Westbrook just has so much upside, especially when Beal is off the floor. So if Beal's out, love Westbrook. If Beal plays, I don't see a ton that really stands out from this Washington team. We'll mention Davis Bertans, though, because Rui Hachimura, he is also listed as questionable. If he were to sit, I would have some interest in Davis Bertans. Last game, Bertans, he played 24 minutes. He was limited once again, but he was really productive in that time with 32 DK points. I would assume he's going to get more than 24 minutes a day if Rui's out again. So if Rui's out again, especially if Beal's out again too, I think you can look to Davis Bertans, especially if his minutes limit is going to increase or if he's basically going to be off of a minutes limit. But yeah, we can go ahead and move on to the next game or to the other side of this game with the Orlando side. So look at the Magic here. There's a good amount to talk about from this Magic team as well. I mean, so like you already see it, so many guys are questionable. We do know though that Otto Porter's going to remain out. Gary Harris is going to remain out. Jonathan Isaac, Fultz, they're going to remain out. But Michael Carter-Williams is questionable. Cole Anthony could maybe be back today. He is questionable. Keem Birch is also questionable. So I think the MCW and Cole Anthony news is definitely pretty important. Last game, obviously MCW was out. Cole Anthony was out. We actually saw RJ Hampton start at point guard last game, and he was really productive, had a really good game, played 33 minutes and had 30 DraftKings points. If Anthony and MCW are both out again, I think RJ Hampton looks like a very solid value option at 4,500. The Keem Birch news I don't think really impacts too much. Even if Keem Birch plays today, I assume he's going to finally go back to the bench. I assume that with how well Wendell Carter's been playing, that Wendell Carter is going to be the starting center for the Magic moving forward. So if Keem Birch plays, he's probably just going to get about 20 minutes off the bench if I had to guess. I don't think him coming back really impacts too much, but the status of MCW and Anthony are definitely important. If they both play, I don't really see a ton I like from the Orlando backcourt, but if they're both out, definitely would like RJ Hampton. Terrence Ross, though, I think is the one guy we can look to from the Orlando backcourt outside of maybe Hampton if those two guys were to be out. We know Terrence Ross's role is pretty secure in this Orlando offense. He's going to play probably 30 minutes a night off the bench. He should go out there and just chuck every game. I mean, he's going to be one of the highest usage players on this team just because this team doesn't have, a lot of high usage guys. It's a good matchup against Washington. 6,400, the price has come down a decent amount. Ross was like $7K a week ago, and now he's 6,400, which obviously is a much more appealing price point. So definitely have interest in Terrence Ross, and I think my favorite play, probably my two favorite plays from Orlando are Wendell Carter and Chuma Okeke. So Wendell Carter at 6K, I think regardless of if Keem Birch plays or not, I expect Wendell Carter to start at center. I think he's going to be the Magic's starting center just rest of season as long as he stays healthy. He's played at least 30 minutes in 3 straight games. The last 2 games he has started, and he's played 34 and 35 minutes in those 2 games and has put up 40 and 40 DK points. I mean, he's just been so good. 3 straight games with 40 DK points. The minutes are going to be there on a nightly basis. The matchup is fantastic against Washington. I think, Wendell Carter, clearly one of the top plays today, in my opinion, especially if he does remain in the starting lineup. He is probably my favorite center play overall. 6K on DK is definitely too cheap if he's going to be starting here. And on Yahoo at $18 also looks way too cheap over there. So love Wendell Carter, and I also have a good amount of interest in Chuma Okeke. He just continues to produce, continues to get big minutes on a nightly basis. I think his role is pretty secure in this Orlando offense and, on this team. I think he's going to be a guy that starts and plays probably 34, 36 minutes a night, regardless of, who's in or who's out. I think Okeke is someone they do want to, try and develop. They want to see what they have in him. So, the return of Keem Birch, if Keem Birch were to play, I don't think that really affects Chuma Okeke too much. I expect Okeke to still get big minutes. He's been productive as well when he's been on the floor, with all these guys. Obviously, this Orlando team, losing all their high-usage players, losing Vooch, Fournier, Gordon, that's going to allow for guys like Chuma Okeke, MCW, Wendell Carter. It's going to allow for these guys to be really productive because they're just going to have the ball in their hands a lot more. They're going to get more usage than they normally would. at 5,800, I do still have a good amount of interest in Chuma Okeke, especially in a really good matchup against the Wizards. So also like him from this Orlando team. He also looks really good on Yahoo. $20 over there. Definitely stands out as a solid power forward option on Yahoo. But yeah, that probably does it for Orlando. My two favorite plays here are definitely Okeke and Wendell Carter. But Terrence Ross I have a good amount of interest in. If MCW and Anthony are both out, then I really like RJ Hampton as well. But I think we can go ahead and move on to the next game. So the Knicks and the Celtics. On the Knicks side, I don't really see too much that stands out from the Knicks today. Everyone here just feels appropriately priced, if not, a little bit too expensive. The matchup's not great here against Boston. Overall, this is a game I don't want to have a ton of exposure to because it should be pretty slow paced. I would expect this is going to be, one of the more lower scoring games on the slate. I really don't like much from the Knicks at all. Even Julius Randle, I'm not that interested in on this slate. There's just other guys I think I'd rather pay up for. So Knicks, right now, unless some news comes out, I expect the Knicks to be a team I'm probably just going to be fading as a whole. But on the Boston side, we do have some stuff to talk about here. So this is a back-to-back for the Celtics. Kemba Walker has been resting, basically on every back-to-back this year. And they've already come out and said that he is going to be out for this game. So with Kemba Walker out, I think the guys that benefit, there's three guys that benefit, and that's Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Marcus Smart. We do know that Evan Fournier is also going to be out, so that makes me feel better about these guys, about Tatum, Brown, and Smart. If I was going to play any Celtics today, it would be one of those three guys. Tatum's 9,100, Brown is 7,800, and Smart is 6K. I have interest in all three. I don't think this is a slate where I'm like jamming these guys in just because the matchup's not great. It's a slow-paced game. But I think getting exposure to maybe one or two of these guys makes plenty of sense. I could see maybe playing two in one lineup. It depends what news comes out throughout the day. Right now, I think my favorite is Marcus Smart just because he's pretty affordable on DK, coming in at 6K. He's also pretty affordable on Yahoo, coming in at $21 over there. I know Marcus Smart's been pretty bad this year, and overall for fantasy, he hasn't really been a guy we've looked to roster much this season. I mean, you look at his game log, he only has 2 games out of his last 10 with over 40 DK points, but Marcus Smart's not a guy that I really roster when the team's fully healthy. But when we do get scenarios like this where Kemba Walker is out and Marcus Smart is going to start at point guard, that's when I think he's a lot more appealing. So if Marcus Smart starts at point guard today at 6K, we've seen his upside is a lot higher when Kemba's off the floor, when he has the ball in his hands more. I think he's my favorite guy from this Celtics team when you do factor in price. I like Marcus Smart a good amount at 6K, and I do have some interest in him on Yahoo as well at $21. Like him a good amount. I think Jaylen Brown's also in play. I think Jason Tatum's also in play. All three of these guys get a boost without Kemba, and those are probably the three guys I'm really going to be targeting from Boston. I don't think I'm going to anyone else, though. We'll have to wait and see who starts for Kemba. I would assume, obviously, Smart, Brown, Tatum, and Williams are going to be in the starting lineup. But, maybe they could start Peyton Pritchard. Maybe they'll probably start Semi Ojeleye if I had to guess, but we'll have to wait and see. Maybe if Peyton Pritchard starts, he could be a value, but I think my exposure to this Boston team is basically going to go to the big three, Tatum, Brown, and Smart. Really the only guys I have interest in, I think. Robert Williams, just probably not going to go there on this slate. I think I'd rather play Wendell Carter for, almost $1,000 less. So looking at the next game, New Orleans and Brooklyn. So in terms of pace and in terms of expected points, this should definitely be probably the highest scoring game on the slate. Two really fast-paced teams, two teams that don't play, a ton of defense. I know Brooklyn's been playing a little bit slower lately, but this Pelicans team, they still do play very fast. And on the Pelicans side, there's, injuries to talk about here. So Brandon Ingram, him and Zion were both questionable for Tuesday. Brandon Ingram wound up not playing. Zion did play. For now, I'm just going to assume that Brandon Ingram plays today, but this will be something to monitor. If Brandon Ingram is out again, I think the biggest beneficiaries are going to be Zion, Lonzo, Eric Bledsoe, and James Johnson. Zion, he did have a solid game in pretty limited minutes. He played 35 minutes, but he did lose a few minutes to blowout, I believe, in Tuesday's game. But without Ingram, he was really productive, had 45 DK points in that time. He gets a nice usage bump if Ingram were to sit again. Lonzo had a really good game once again, 52 Draftkings points in only 30 minutes. Nearly had a triple-double, 12 points, 9 rebounds, 11 assists to go along with 2 blocks and 3 steals. Lonzo's just been really productive lately, and if Ingram were to sit, I think Lonzo would definitely be someone I'd be looking to. He's shown lately that he can be productive when he's out there. We obviously know Lonzo's a guy that can stuff the stat sheet, gives you that triple-double upside, and I think his upside, his floor overall, I think his fantasy production is just going to take a spike if Ingram's out. Now, if Ingram plays, I probably won't go to Lonzo, but if Ingram's out again, I do like Lonzo a good amount. Eric Bledsoe, he's fine, but I think, at his price point, he doesn't really stand out as a top option today. I had some interest in him. on Tuesday's slate. Once we got news that Zion was playing, though, that did lower my interest in a guy like Eric Bledsoe. It also lowered my interest in Lonzo. I didn't play either one, sadly. I wish I would have played Lonzo, but yeah, Bledsoe I don't have a ton of interest in, regardless of if Ingram's in or out. James Johnson, though, did start once again in place of Brandon Ingram. He only played 26 minutes, though, and he wasn't very productive with only 15 DK points. I think Zion playing does impact James Johnson a good amount. I think James Johnson, he's just not going to be as productive with Zion out there. It looks like he did get into some foul trouble, but even if Ingram's out again and James Johnson starts, I probably won't be going to him just because I think, with Zion now out there, Zion's definitely going to take production and usage just away from James Johnson. Steven Adams, probably won't go there. I just don't play Steven Adams that often. So for me, I think if Brandon Ingram plays, I don't know if there's really any top plays or priorities from this New Orleans team. Zion would probably be my favorite guy to go to if Ingram is in. But if Ingram's out again, really like Zion, really like Lonzo, those would definitely be the two guys I'd be looking to target from this New Orleans team. But moving on to the other side with Brooklyn here. So on this Brooklyn team, we do know that James Harden is going to be out for this game. He's going to be out for, I believe, a week or two. We know Kyrie's going to play. Kevin Durant, though, I think he is expected to make his return. Yeah, so he's expected to play. He's probable. So Kevin Durant is going to be back today. I'd assume that he's going to be on some sort of minutes limit. He hasn't played in almost 2 months. It was a hamstring injury. Normally when guys come back from leg injuries, they're normally limited. So I'm expecting some sort of restriction for Kevin Durant. I don't think Kevin Durant's going to be a guy we want to roster on this slate, especially because he's his normal price. But Kyrie, I do have a good amount of interest in. Obviously, with KD returning, Kyrie's going to take a little bit of a hit, but with no Harden, I expect Kyrie to be the primary point guard, to be the guy that has a ball in his hands a lot. And if KD's going to be limited, I don't know if that's going to impact Kyrie too much. At least, I don't think it's going to completely kill his value. Kyrie can still go out there and put up 55, 60 with Harden out and with a limited KD. We know we're going to get big minutes from Kyrie as long as this game stays close. It's a fantastic matchup. It's a fast-paced game. I wish he was a little bit cheaper, but even at 10-2, I still have a lot of interest in Kyrie, and I think right now he is one of my favorite studs to pay up for. I do like him a lot on both sides. He's for sure way too cheap on Yahoo. You look at the pay-up options on Yahoo, let me see if I can go to it. So Westbrook's 55. Obviously, if Beal's out, I like Westbrook a lot. Jokic is 55, same price tag. Luka's 54. And then you get a big drop down to Kyrie at 46. I think Kyrie, can easily outscore those guys. So I do really like Kyrie. I think he's clearly one of the top spend-up options today, even with KD returning. I don't know if that's going to impact Kyrie too much here because obviously Harden's out and KD probably will be limited. But other guys on the Nets that we could look to, I don't have a ton of interest in really anyone else. Joe Harris, Bruce Brown, I'm just not going to go to these guys with KD back. Even if KD's limited, he's gonna take enough away from those guys. LaMarcus Aldridge at 5,600. I don't have a ton of interest in either. I think his production is going to take a hit with KD back. So really, it's just Kyrie for me. And KD, if he was full go, I'd be interested in him, but I'm assuming he's going to be on a minutes limit, so I don't have any interest in Durant. So moving on to the next game, Memphis and Atlanta. So this is another important game to talk about in terms of injuries. So on the Memphis side, Brandon Clark, DeAnthony Melton, and Justice Winslow were all out on Tuesday's game. This is a back-to-back for Memphis. We don't exactly know, if these guys are going to be in or out today. With Brandon Clark getting ruled out Tuesday, that did impact Kyle Anderson a good amount. We saw Kyle Anderson have a really good game Tuesday. His minutes have been more secure with, Brandon Clark out. So if Brandon Clark is out again, I do actually like Kyle Anderson a good amount at 5,500. And then we got to talk about John Morant. So John Morant was injured, or he got injured in Tuesday's game, late in the game with a back injury. It seemed pretty serious. It seemed like he was in a lot of pain. My best guess is that Morant does not play here. So I'm going into this slate assuming that Morant's out. And if that is the case, Tyus Jones, if Morant is out, is going to be probably the best value play on the slate. At least right now, he does look like the top value. 3,300 on DK. He's super cheap. And on Yahoo, he's minimum salary. If Morant sits, it's going to be hard to get away from Tyus Jones. Tyus Jones, obviously he hasn't played a ton of minutes this season just because he's been, the backup to Morant. He's only going to play 18 to 20 minutes a night. But if Morant were to sit here, I would assume that Tyus Jones would start, probably get over 30 minutes. He's been productive this year when given minutes. He's been close to a fantasy point per minute player. I like Tyus Jones a lot. It's going to be really hard to get away from him. Clearly a top value play today if Morant is unable to play. Like I said, with how serious it looked, Morant seemed like he was in a lot of pain. It doesn't seem like he's going to play here. Joe Val, though, at 7,200, I don't mind him in tournaments. I still prefer like Wendell Carter for cheaper, but I think J-Val gets a little boost, especially if Morant were to sit. J-Val's been a guy that's, kind of been up and down this year. He's had some big games. He's had some bad games, but we know J-Val can go out there and put up 45, 50 any night. A matchup against Atlanta, not the best. Atlanta's been better defensively this year. They do play a lot slower than they have in previous seasons, but still don't mind J-Val. But I would say that if John Morant is out, my favorite plays from Memphis are definitely Tyus Jones, number one. If Brandon Clark is out, I do like Kyle Anderson a good amount. I think Dylan Brooks gets a little bit of a bump as well if John Morant's out. He had a solid game Tuesday night. Obviously, Morant got injured late in that game, so I don't know if that really impacted Brooks too much, but I would expect that if Morant is out here, Brooks does get a pretty nice boost. So him, Anderson, Tyus Jones, I could definitely see going to those guys today if Morant sits. Now, if Morant plays, obviously I'll be off of Tyus Jones, but I would still have interest in a guy like Kyle Anderson, especially if Brandon Clark were to be out. But yeah, I think we can go ahead and move on to the Atlanta side. So looking at the Hawks here, there's not a ton to talk about from Atlanta. I think Trae Young at 8,800 does look pretty appealing in tournaments. He finally had a decent game Tuesday night, against New Orleans. And I mentioned in my video Tuesday, I know Trae Young had not had a good game for a while, but at some point he was going to go out there and put up 55 to 60. The guy's just too good. He's too good of a scorer. He's a guy that's going to go out there and get you double-digit assists. He was going to have a game where he went for 30 and 10. It was going to happen at some point. In only 31 minutes Tuesday night in a blowout, he did have 52 DK points against New Orleans. The price tag went down a good amount to $8,800. He's still affordable on Yahoo as well at $37, I believe. Yeah, $37. Trae Young, I think, is my favorite play from this Atlanta team. Clint Capella, I don't mind, but I don't think he's going to be someone I really build around today. There's just other centers I do prefer. And then Bogdan at 6,500, I think just looks like a secondary option. If he was cheaper, he'd be a lot more interesting, but I think at 6,500, he's priced appropriately. For me, it's really just Trae Young and not too much else on this Atlanta team. So moving on to the next game, talking about Dallas and Houston. On the Dallas side, there really isn't a ton I like here. Porzingis, I believe he's expected to play. Yeah, right here it says that Porzingis is expected to play. So with him back, obviously, no interest in Boban, no interest in Maxi Kleber. Maxi Kleber is currently listed as questionable. If he were to be out, I don't know if that really impacts too much. I would assume that, I don't even know who they would start. Probably Nikola Melli would start if Maxi Kleber were to be out. Melli, though, is 4K. He's not super cheap. Really, on this Dallas team, there isn't a ton I like outside of Luka. Porzingis, I'm probably not even going to go to if he plays here. Luka, I think, is a solid pay-up option. I'd probably rather have Kyrie for cheaper. I think there's some other guys I'd rather get to over Luka, but, Luka's always someone you can look to roster. It depends on what kind of value we get as the day goes on. If a lot of value opens up and I can get two studs into my lineup, Luka is definitely someone I'll be looking to pair with Kyrie. But for now, Kyrie, I think, is my favorite stud. He's the guy that I do want to build around. Luka, would be behind him for me, but Luka's the only guy I'm considering on this Dallas team. I don't think I'm playing anyone else on Dallas outside of Luka, at least not right now. Now on Houston, there's not really a ton I like on Houston either. John Wall's currently listed as questionable. If he plays, I don't think I really want to go to him. If he's out again, Kevin Porter gets a boost, but Kevin Porter at 7,200 feels, priced appropriately. Did finally have a good game, though, last game, which was good to see. Played 30 minutes, had 42 DK points. He's not getting the massive minutes that we thought he would get while John Wall was out. I thought with John Wall out, we'd be getting 36 minutes a night from Kevin Porter. He's only playing 30 minutes a night, still viable, but I really don't like much from this Houston team. Daniel House is out. Kelly Olynyk, I believe, did start last game in place of Daniel House. But at 5,900, he just feels priced appropriately. If he was 4,500, I think he'd be a really good value play. But at 5,900, he's just more of a secondary option. I really don't see much from this Houston team I want to go to. Houston just not a team I'm really that interested in. Christian Wood, not a guy I feel like I'm going to be going to either on this slate. So moving on to the next game, Charlotte and OKC. Now in Charlotte today, there is a decent amount to talk about here because we do know LaMelo Ball obviously going to be out for the season. Gordon Hayward and Malik Monk are also out as well. So on Charlotte, I do like a decent amount here. Terry Rozier, 8,400. I think he's more of a secondary option on this slate. I don't know if Terry Rozier, is going to project insanely well for this price point, but I think his upside is obviously a lot higher with LaMelo and Hayward both out. Same could be said for Devontae Graham. He feels appropriately priced at 6,900, but I think his upside is a lot higher with these two guys off the floor. And then the guy that I think benefits most with Gordon Hayward out is Miles Bridges. 5K for Miles Bridges does look like a pretty solid play here. He started in place of Hayward in that Boston game. He played 31 minutes. He was not productive at all, but if we're going to get, Miles Bridges starting and playing 30 plus minutes, I mean, at 5K, he still does feel a little bit too cheap. I think the price is we're going to see the price rise on Miles Bridges. He's probably going to get up to close to 6K for at least the next, week or two while Hayward is out. The price tag on Bridges still does feel a little bit too low. On Yahoo, I think he's pretty cheap over there as well. If I can double check, he's $14 on Yahoo. So I think Bridges is a really good value play today with Gordon Hayward out. PJ Washington gets a little bit of a boost. I don't know if he's someone I really want to roster on this slate, but he gets a solid bump with Hayward out. But I would say my favorite play from this Charlotte team is definitely Miles Bridges. And then the two guards, Rozier and Graham, I do have some interest in. Graham is super cheap on Yahoo. He looks a lot better there. $20 at point guard, I think, a solid play. Terry Rozier, $29. Like, those guys are a lot more affordable. Tougher to get there on DK, but I think on Yahoo, these Charlotte guys look a lot better just because they're cheaper on Yahoo. Rozier, Graham, Bridges, though, I expect to be the guys that do, a lot of the heavy lifting and get a lot of the production, while Hayward and LaMelo are out. So I think that does it for the Charlotte side. Now, looking at OKC here, we know SGA, Horford, Baisley, Roby, Dort, all going to remain out, but OKC last game did get they got Jalen Horde back, or not back, but they signed Jalen Horde and he was available to play last game. They also signed Justin Robinson and he was available to play last game. So OKC was expected to have an 8-man rotation, but those two guys allowed them to have a 10-man rotation. So we didn't see like heavy minutes like we thought we were going to get. I think I'm pretty sure, I can't remember who played the most minutes out of the starters. I think Poku played the most minutes out of the starters. He played 32 minutes. Fee played 26. I think Maledon played like mid-20s. Kendrick Williams got in foul trouble. He didn't play a ton. Like, if they're going to have 10 available bodies, like, these OKC guys aren't nearly as appealing as if they were running like an 8-man rotation. I think them getting more bodies now, they're going to be able to spread out the minutes. This is not a team that's really going to give, heavy minutes to a ton of guys. I mean, Poku's probably going to play like 32 minutes, but it's not like he's going to play, 38, 40 minutes. If I had to play anyone on OKC, it would probably be Poku or Kendrick Williams. Like, Kendrick Williams burned me last slate, but I expect him to start once again. He got into some foul trouble. Obviously, that limited his minutes. He also got hurt late in the game. But I expect him to be productive when he's out there. When you factor in price, he's probably my favorite play from OKC. He's still pretty cheap on Yahoo, too. Like, if you're looking for a cheap shooting guard, you got Kendrick Williams at $12. He's probably my favorite guy from the Thunder, followed by Poku. But I don't think a ton stands out from this team just because with 10 available bodies, they're going to really spread out the minutes. They're not going to give a ton of guys big minutes. It's a tough team to, get too excited about with how everyone's kind of appropriately priced now. So moving on to the next one, San Antonio and Denver. On San Antonio, Dejounte Murray is currently questionable, so this is a pretty important injury. If Dejounte Murray were to sit, I think the biggest beneficiary would be Derek White. Now, Derek White did not have that great of a game last game when Murray was out, but he also lost a lot of minutes due to blowout. He also did not shoot the ball that well. I would have some interest in Derek White today if Dejounte Murray were to be out again. I think DeRozan would get a little bit of a bump as well. I don't know if DeRozan would be someone I'd be going to run into roster, but he'd at least be viable if Murray sits. If Murray plays, I really don't like much at all from the San Antonio team. But if Murray's out, I definitely could see going to DeRozan or White. White would be my favorite, though, between the two. But on the Denver side, this is a back-to-back for Denver, so we got to talk about Jamal Murray being out. He was out Tuesday. We don't exactly know if he's going to play today or not. With Jamal Murray out Tuesday, we did see Monte Morris start in place of him. I don't think Monte Morris had that good of a game, but he's super cheap. If he were to start again in place of Murray, he would be a very solid value play. If John Morant were to be out, I'd still probably rather play Tyus Jones, but Monte Morris would definitely be viable. I think Will Barton, Aaron Gordon, MPJ, like all these guys would get a little bump up if Murray were to be out again. Jokic at 10-6. I think he's a solid pay-up option. I never have a problem rostering Jokic, but on this slate, I don't think he's going to be someone I really start my lineups with. I think I'd rather have Kyrie. I think I'd rather have Luka as well. It'd be close between Jokic or Luka, but yeah, we just got to wait and see if Jamal Murray plays. If Jamal Murray plays, I don't see a ton that stands out from Denver. Aaron Gordon you can maybe go to, but he didn't have that good of a game Tuesday. He definitely burned me on Yahoo. I played him over there. He's still affordable on Yahoo, but don't know if I'm going to go back to Aaron Gordon. But if Jamal Murray were to sit, then Porter, Gordon, Barton, and Monte Morris I'd have a decent amount of interest in. Monte Morris, though, I think would be the priority from this Denver team if Murray is out. But moving on to the last game of the night, Utah and Phoenix. So this one's pretty easy for me. I don't see much I really like here at all. Two pretty slow-paced teams. A game that it shouldn't be very high scoring. Should be pretty low-scoring game overall. I mean, the total in this game right now is at 225.5, which is a little bit higher than I expected, but I don't really expect to roster much here. On the Utah side, everyone just feels appropriately priced. The team's fully healthy. I don't really see anybody that stands out factoring in price. And on the Phoenix side, it's the same thing. Like Booker and Paul both feel appropriately priced, if not a little bit too expensive for this matchup. Ayton at 6,800, you could maybe go to, but I'm not going to be playing. I don't expect to really play anyone in this game. I think overall this game is just a fade for me. So, yeah, that does it for all 8 games on this slate, guys. Or 9 games, excuse me. All 9 games today. Hope you guys did enjoy the little game-by-game breakdown. I appreciate you watching the video, as always. Just before you do get out of here, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and also be sure to click the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload, and you also get notified every time I do live stream. And if you do enjoy these videos, you want to see more content that I have to offer, you can check out my Patreon link down below. I do have a lot of additional content over there if you want to check that out. You can check it out, link down below in the description. But good luck tonight, guys. Thanks for watching the video. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.